I'll be covering four points. Number one is the very, very proud launch of the, as all of you already know, of the GSLV D5. I think a great moment for Indian science. That's what I'll cover first. Secondly, I will be making observations on the comment made by Baba Ramdev on Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. I'll follow that up by the fact that Baba Ramdev seems to be suggesting a lot of economic models to the BJP's prime ministerial candidate designate. And I shall also make some comments on the statement made by the senior leader of the AAP party, Mr. Prashant Bhushan, on the referendum for the presence of the army in Kashmir. Let's start on a very positive note. एक अच्छी खबर, एक सकारात्मक खबर जिससे भारत की मर्यादा को और भी बढ़त मिलती है. And I do believe that the launch of the GSLV D5 rocket very successfully is a moment of great pride. Is frankly speaking a remarkable achievement on the part of India's scientists. I think this is something that a lot of people talk about. When Mangalyaan went to Mars, I think we all begin to take our scientific breakthroughs sometimes for granted. But this is something that we need to pause and really appreciate and applaud. The work done by our scientists working in the ISRO, which is the Indian Space Research Organization. And more important is the fact that, ladies and gentlemen, that the successful launch has been largely brought about by the use of our own indigenous talent and technology. And I do believe that it is only appropriate that we start today's briefing by sharing a news of a great achievement by scientists and engineers who have worked very hard, burned the midnight oil, and made a significant scientific breakthrough. So I hope all of you will agree with me that this is indeed something that we should feel proud of. Do you agree with me on that or not?
That has already been published.
Okay. Let me now come down to the observation made by Baba Ramdev on Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. The Congress party strongly condemns. The Congress party, I repeat, strongly condemns an extremely regrettable, reprehensible, and I can think of many other words, but deplorable statement that he made on India's first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. I think some people, when they make a comment on India's leaders of the past, stalwarts, eminent political personalities, I think they should go and read some history. It's important that they do so. What was particularly, I thought, disturbing was the fact that Baba Ramdev made very insulting remarks, wrong remarks on a person, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who's considered worldwide not just as a political leader, but as a statesman. There's a big difference there. Pandit Nehru is considered to be a statesman. And a statesman is someone who looks as a leader not just at the political challenges facing his party or his country, but who looks at the role of his nation amongst a League of Nations. I think it's important for people to know, and certainly Mr. Baba Ramdev to know, that the non-aligned movement was co-founded by Pandit Nehru. It resulted post the World War into easing of global tensions because two blocs had emerged. I mean, these are not ordinary achievements. Pandit Nehru is an architect of this modern India, a sovereign, secular, democratic republic that we are. And we do believe that Baba Ramdev's statement is extremely pathetic, and we strongly condemn it. And I would like you to go ahead and ask the other senior leaders from the BJP who were present on the dais, namely their Prime Ministerial candidate Mr. Modi, their President Mr. Rajnath Singh, and even Arun Jaitley, as to do they agree with that? Do they endorse the view of Baba Ramdev? I think that's something that you need to go and ask them. I do believe, and the Congress party is very, very strong in its condemnation of that blatant and brazen lie. My second comment will be on the fact that we heard. I'll take your questions. Yeah, okay. After these are my second political, but anyway, my third point would be that we heard on the same dais Baba Ramdev, who's got certain very serious cases for which he is being investigated, giving suggestions in terms of the economic model that the BJP government under Mr. Narendra Modi designate Prime Ministerial ought to follow. He talked about economic freedom, and I think it would be more like freedom from economics. And I do believe also that intellectual bankruptcy perhaps is a prelude to financial bankruptcy. Here you have a Prime Minister of India who's been a former finance minister, who's been the governor of the Reserve Bank of India, besides being, and I don't want to get into the academic qualifications of our very well-known, respected Prime Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh, but he is so well respected for his financial acumen that leaders worldwide, including the US President, Mr. Barack Obama, looks up to him for advice. I remember Mr. Obama's statement where he said that amongst the G20 leaders when we meet, practically all international leaders look up to the Prime Minister with a great deal of awe and respect. But here you have, and I do believe, an extremely, I would say, queer situation for India if Mr. Baba Ramdev were to be the chief economic advisor to Mr. Narendra Modi. That's something that I think you need to ruminate on. But I do believe that, a healthy economy, and I'm using healthy in quotes, does not mean that you need a yoga expert. My last observation for the day is on a statement which has been, been all over the place because last I saw it on television, is a comment made by the AAP leader, Mr. Prashant Bhushan, where he talked about a referendum on whether the army should be there in Kashmir or not. We do believe that the AAP party should now wake up to this reality that they are a political party. They are no longer mere commentators. They are no longer analysts. They are not an NGO. They are a political party and they are heard. They will be heard Everything that they will say or not say, if it communicates a message, good or bad, will be talked about. And therefore, it is the responsibility of leaders from the AAP party to be extremely careful about what they say. We are dealing here with a very, very sensitive issue related to Kashmir, where everyone is aware that the presence of the army has been critical in stopping infiltration as a counter to terrorism and for ensuring that elements that are disruptive do not make Kashmir into a base for their nefarious activities or goals. And it is in that light that we would like to advise the AAP party that they need to realize that you can't be irresponsible in making statements on issues that are fairly national, which are being looked at by the central government and by the state government with gravity. And it is pertinent, therefore, to point out that for the AAP party, which now, from the sound of what I've been hearing for the last couple of days, they do have national ambitions. They have political aspirations to go pan-India, in which case they need to have a very well thought out, well considered view on issues of national security, or whether it's foreign policy, whether it's economic, or any other social legislation of merit and importance. I think these were some of the observations that I wanted to make.